The bare bones of literature in general and fiction in particular, from the great John Barth. Barth, a maximalist, loved to put something else in the story. 5 parts. 1. 4 objects of knowledge for writers. The material, i.e. the world, including yourself and other people in it. 2. The medium, literature, the artful rendition of human experience into written words. Fiction, he describes as a variety of literature which employs prose to tell a story, presumably made up. Sometimes more than others. 3. The craft, application of the rudiments of the medium. The 4th object of knowledge for writers. The art, inspired mastery of the craft, informed by an angle of vision, a handle on the world. Okay, so John Barth comes up with 1 or 2 irreducibles of the medium, verbality and narrativity. He says verbality leads to narrativity, or verbality and narrativity lead to the 6 ineluctable, unavoidable aspects of literature are A through F: semiotic, anesthetic, linear, solitary, mediated, and fabricated. Verbality and narrativity lead to the ineluctable aspects of literature, which are semiotic, having to do with sense or meaning, anesthetic, which could be the idea of literature as a bane, something that a refuse, a guilty pleasure. C, linear, the idea of the story moving forward. D, solitary, the word engaging the reader as the reader is alone. E, mediated, how are verbality and narrativity handled? What means are they handled with, as opposed to F, fabricated, how the story is made up. Part 3 of the bare bones of literature in general from John Barth, and fiction in particular. The 7 or 8 rudiments of dramatic fiction, he says, are lexis, melos, praxis, mythos, opsis, ethos, dianoia, and narration. Lexis is diction, as does melos, song, with language, tone, style, voice, metaphor, dialogue. 3, praxis is the moving forward of the story. Action. 4, mythos, plot. Praxis, action, and plot, mythos, have to do with story, dramaturgy, choreography, exposition, conflict, complication, denouement. The 5th rudiment of dramatic fiction has to do with scene setting, description, observation, and texture. So many of us think of opsis as the first setting-like part of writing as essential. But then number 6 of the rudiments is ethos, or character. And my more sophisticated, I think, writer friends always say that it is character that drives story, and they talk about their characters, telling them where to go as they really engage in developing a character's voice that might tell them, or so they claim, where their story's going. Ethos, character. Number 6, ethos, character, includes characterization and casting, and how many and what kind. Dianoia, fancy Greek word for thought. Theme, net significance or point. And lastly, narration, narrative viewpoint, dramatization versus summarization, chronological order versus order of narration. Part 4 of the bare bones of literature in general. The 5 imperatives for apprentice writers of literature. These could be useful. 1, observe and study the material. Or as Nabokov says, caress the details. Caress the details. God is in the details. 2, read, no longer innocently and preferably massively. 3, practice both your specific genre and the general rendition of your observations into language. 4, criticize and be criticized, to sharpen your sense of the medium, the rudiments, and aesthetics generally. 5, monitor your observations, reading, practice, and criticism in order to identify and build upon your particular strengths and to strengthen or minimize your particular weaknesses. Definitely rings true with regard to the champions of squash or tennis that I've seen, the way they work and monitor their work, or even bodybuilding old guys who keep lists and know exactly where they are. Hard for me to do. Part 5 of the bare bones of literature in general are goals to shoot for. 1. Locate your muse among the numberless contradictories or aesthetic antinomies, all historically defensible, e.g., Windexed language versus stained glass language. Realism versus irrealism. Classicism versus romanticism. Long forms versus short forms. Comedy, non-comedy. Apollonianism, Dionysianism. Committed lit, pure lit. Modernism versus pre- or postmodernism, a distinction that Barth was fond of underlining. He had a big part in trying to suggest that Pomo was its own thing, postmodernism was its own thing, and was especially fond, John Barth was, of, in his short story Lost in the Funhouse, he was fond of postmodernist fictions that called attention to themselves as fiction. We call that metafiction. It pokes the reader and says, hey, how's the reading going? And 2 here, having identified your muse, i.e. your angle on the world and yourself in the medium, transcend the mere mastered algebra of your craft with the innate fire of your talent, so that your scribblings will ascend from the table into the heaven of finished art. Copyright 1984, John Barth. Bare bones of literature in general. Wow.